Hey, it's me, Big P. I wanted to do a video going over the Blood Mage Infusion multi-elementalist setup. Um, my current stats, we're still at a pretty mediocre level of gear just coming out of the campaign. Just wanted to kind of go over a lot of the testing I've done with infusions and overall why I feel like, really, spoiler alert, it's kind of an underwhelming mechanic that doesn't really make sense to build around. Just at its core, I just don't think there's any reason to be running around trying to chase things. During the map demonstration, I'll show kind of what I'm talking about. Um, and as far as what we're doing in terms of infusions, making them, and spending them, really, the whole system is a lot more stringent than you might think at first. You really kind of have to choose what are the generators. I hesitate to say that because that brings you back to like some Diablo 3 type gameplay mechanics. Your generators and your spenders. You kind of have to choose carefully what's doing what, as well as just not having a lot of quick options like Frostbomb, for example. While it leaves behind a cold infusion, you're not really going to be using it for that. You kind of want it to stay on the ground, doing its exposure for a longer time. Each pulse increases the exposure given. So, I mean, like waiting for this to make a cold infusion for you to eat up, not really great. I will say using the Firestorm as the big main spender has been fun and flashy, but I think overall it's just not really that great. Let me just go over. You can pause the video if you want to check anything and tell me I'm stupid for doing some stuff. I'm sure I've basically just spent the whole weekend testing setups as I've been basically getting carried through the campaign by some friends. I did play with some friends through pretty much the entire campaign, and they were doing Deadeye and Invoker stuff. So I was kind of able to just chill out and experiment with some stuff with infusions, and I overall do not think they're worth it. So I'm gonna run the highest tier map I have. The build just overall feels super inconsistent. Let's run that corrupt zone, which isn't good. I think Blood Mage overall is pretty strong. Maybe like there's something else. I just think mid game like casters into end game, it just feels very clunky. I'll go over the basic setup so you get an idea of what we're going on. So Orb of Storms, I have two of them, and the changes this league. Normally your Orb of Storms, okay, you wait for them to go down and then the infusions comes. But if you have something that you can cast very quickly, you can trigger a lot of the Orb of Storm procs very quickly, which I think is super helpful. It has kind of helped with the immediacy of damage, which is really something you kind of need. Ember, Fusillade, and Firestorm are kind of like delayed damage. I haven't really been using Snap, honestly. I don't know if it's even worth it. I've been trying to automate it, but I think Living Bomb is just more consistent in terms of getting the fire infusion for Firestorm, which just increases the rate. It basically like doubles your damage from what I can tell in, magical Christmas land where every single firestorm hits. So, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So try and go over some stuff. It's not a very quick build. It's not a very consistent build at any point. But you basically run through. You always want to have at least an orb or two up, and then probably a firestorm or two as well. Got a rare monster here. It's okay right now. I still haven't done my third lab. I've been really lazy about it. Having the Progenesis effect. I went for Spell Leech and base crit early just because I was really wanting for damage and general recovery. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, but I just think in general, when the game, the most meaningful and stuff that'll kill you the most is like floating red things, floating blood things. I'm already like getting my blood remnants or whatever, right? And you have to run on top of stuff like it's like, oh, is that a remnant or is that something that's going to kill me? Do I need to walk on top of it? The whole gameplay mechanic just seems like it's not really going to be worth it. It's this sort of, especially in a game like Path of Exile 2, where you do not want to be on the wrong side of like a big hit, like because it'll just stun you and kill you. This is feeling okay. It just felt really inconsistent. Like it'd be okay for a couple maps, and then I just like run into a wall. I think in some of like it doesn't really have a good amount of reach despite having a decent investment to AoE. It really just has such a high like skill ceiling for no reason. Like you really got to get the rotation down properly, and to what end, right? Like we're doing when the Firestorm all comes together, it's pretty cool. Cast on Crit Living Bomb is providing us with a lot of fire infusions, which, like I said, really important for Firestorm. The main spender is Firestorm. You can still spend for Ember Fusillade. You have a lot of these, whatchamacallits, lightning infusions coming up, which can be nice. I mean, it does chain a good, decent bit of the way, but like I said, overall, it's just a lot of buttons to press for not much of a payoff. This is looking pretty good right now, considering it's just this chain of an Orb of Storms. I was enjoying Orb of Storms so much I even went +1 Orb, and honestly, maybe there's something there. But basically, I was just looking for, you know, with the changes to Orb of Storms, where it's any elemental skill you can cast, you just look for the quickest one you can cast. So I was testing stuff like Lightning Orb, Wall Lightning. I was testing, I don't want to do Spark, because I think that would be underwhelming, and then you'd kind of want to do Flame Wall and stuff, which itself can eat infusions. Again, a lot of the testing was just like, alright, I would want to use this spell maybe, but then, like, for example, Ball Lightning was eating the fire infusions, which are very important for Firestorm. The lightning infusions aren't as important, and then the cold infusions were just not really generating consistently. I feel like it was kind of a waste to have Snap on Cast on Crit, because it had a cooldown. Not that you're really triggering quicker than the cooldown, but like when you need it, I don't know. A lot of inconsistencies with just the whole mechanic, which has been pretty disappointing overall. Probably fine for getting through the campaign and stuff, but I really doubt it's going to have the oomph for later on. Not that I ever do anything later on in PoE 1 or 2. It just feels really kind of like sluggish and stuff. I will say, you know, losing cast speed on some points, I have had to forego like some cast speed on rings. You can get a lot of cast speed on rings for resistances now, as we're getting into, you know, maps and things like that. I'm actually not res capped, he says as he is dying. So I really do want that Progenesis effect from the Blood Mage, but I gotta be honest, I don't even know if we're gonna get that part of Third Lab. It's just kind of really killed. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's feeling like me getting through the campaign was enough, but like again, it just feels like my friends kind of carried me through it. Ember Fusillade, while you can cast really fast, it does feel like it's a little clunky to have to wait long enough for it to go. I don't know. Again, like there's a skill ceiling here. I'm willing to admit it's like sometimes it's like, well, if you had your Firestorms up more consistently, like here, it is providing a lot of nice hits as well as Orb of Storms. You want to be hitting a lot to proc both Cast on Crit as well as your Blood Remnants from, or Life Remnants, whatever they're called. Let's see, here's like an example. It's like maybe I could have set up a bit better. Oh, those things hurt. I get it. You know, when the single target all comes together, it's not terrible. But you know, it's all right for what it's doing. It just feels like it's being pulled in a lot of different directions. And in a lot of testing, I didn't realize like so many of these spells just have such a huge cooldown time that it's just like really kills me wanting to run it. Like, stuff like I Have Winter, stuff like, you know, I'm surprised there's no like level 5 at least support gems that just make infusions. I think I would probably have to go into just cold spells and going Snap and stuff like that just to really make use of it, but... So again, for clearing trash mobs, I mean, like, all you have to do is put an Orb of Storm down, and the chain will carry it most of the time. You'll proc it up. It's a totally fine line of play to just go orb, orb, and then when you're on top of it, cast enough so that it eats the infusion, and then that blows it up and you're on to the next pack. Of course, you kind of, for rare packs or just tankier packs in general, once you're getting up into higher tier maps, you do have to throw a Frost Bomb down, throw a Firestorm down, throw another orb down, then start casting again. And then, you know, go back into the cycle here. Like I say, I haven't been using Snap. That was just on the bar for testing. Here we go. Let's see. We've got some single target's decent enough for right now. I just don't know if it's like they're gonna want to be doing this, because I'm comparing this to my friends who are doing like Deadeye and Monk, which are like tried and true. Okay, here we go. Ruined Monolith. Let's see some single target. Put the money where the mouth is. So, I mean, when it's all coming out like this is pretty nice. I actually think that single target is the build strength. See, so we got a lot of just fire infusions there, so I'm just going to drop another there. Let's cast a Snapshot, like whatever, I don't know. Pretty solid single target, I will say. But it's, I guess, they're kind of inconsistent into exactly what the optimal rotation is and how to play the build properly. It's been fun to test it out, but I think overall it just feels like casters are kind of half-baked right now without the Druid stuff. Because, I mean, if you just look at the skill gem tab, you have your elemental spells and your occult spells, which is like half of it is like minions, more than half, and then it's like other like curse chaos stuff. It just really sucks that you might as well just play Essence Green Contagion for leveling. Although, you know, there is something to be said. This Orb of Storms Ember Fusillade setup can probably carry you through most, if not the entire campaign, very early on. You know, just this is just built into the skills itself, this interaction where you get one orb, cast 6 times. Obviously, you won't have a lot of cast speed that early on, but you can get a decent bit of it on the tree. Ooh, this touch of the beast. Enemies you kill explode. Cool. Look how good my clear is. It's yeah, lot to be desired, I think, overall. I should have done one with the boss. You could really see. I mean, we that was kind of a boss level enemy here. So here we have put a firestorm down. Let's do the has. All right, sure. I mean that wasn't that bad. I've actually done worse maps, but that wasn't a really scary map. Temp chains is like makes the build a little clunkier than it already is, and then less recovery rate. Blood Mage itself is really strong. Like the overleeching up to like 2k life with a little bit of ES on top. It's letting me get away without being like res capped, without having really any ES, sorry, evasion armor or anything like that. I think just stacking a ton of life will be solid for that. A quick look at the tree if there's anything notable. This is just a generic like elemental caster tree with ailment stuff. Again, min-maxing ailments I haven't really... It's really hard to test in PoE2. I don't really have a good sense of, you know, what's making infusions more consistently. We have stuff that's like eating ailments that, you know, maybe Snap should be eating, but I think the most consistent thing is just to have Living Bomb on cast on crit or something like that. You can, again, also cast that instead of Ember Fusillade, but that felt a little clunky as well, just because it's not like actively doing a ton of damage. Like a full stacked Ember Fusillade is basic. It's almost enough on itself to take care of a rare monster. And then my build will be fixed once I get this node right. A little bit of cast speed and cast res. We are deep into crit. Like I said, the second lab we did go for the base crit chance of 15. Like if you can't make 15 base crit work on spells, like that's just a skill issue. So I think, you know, with this setup like this, you definitely can get through the campaign. It's just a matter of, you know, is it going to be good enough to get you further, get you deeper into endgame, where like these sorts of Rube Goldberg, oh, I'm casting this and then I have to walk over here before I cast this to get this, like, I don't know. I've wanted to kind of go to Elemental Equilibrium and experiment with that, and then I would just basically just go full on Orb of Storms. We wouldn't have to do any of the other stuff like Living Bomb. We could put Snap there instead, or we can put something else like Comet. Comet's not great for cast on crit. I don't know. I didn't really go into like the triggering too much of it all. Otherwise, it's just like good crit stuff here in the Monk area. This is really good like crit area here. Some mana regen. I haven't really had issues since. I mean, like the mana costs are like pretty. You know, like you can just like spam this one. We're not really like spamming anything that's like too costly, like a Comet or anything like that. Maybe I just have a lot of int, and that's helping as well. And yeah, just more crit stuff. Again, this wasn't. This is a really nice crit node because hits have reduced its crit reduction chance against you. Not sure how much that's actually doing. It's really hard to say, but yeah, the gear. I mean, this in terms of like what you would want for a multi-elemental setup, it's like kind of different than like +2 specific gem levels. Those are usually really solid for if you're just using one element in your builds. Since we're using multiple, I chose to go for just more generic spell damage and the gain as just to like kind of mix it all around. You know, we have mostly generic elemental scaling. Just because I wanted to experiment with a lot of stuff. I'm not sure what we're using. And then, you know, for Firestorm, the payoff, when you do have like a fully like 3 infused Firestorm, it is quite nice. Not nice for your GPU. I will say I went off to Rectex, went to Vulcan and stopped crashing. I was crashing multiple times the first day. And then now I've swapped to Vulcan. I think I've had only 1 or 2 like weird like loading bugs and whatever. Everything else is garbage. We do have a lot of spirit between the shirt and the Ami here to play with. Both Blasphemy of Elemental Weakness and the cast on crit here, but like cast on crit, like I don't know how good this actually is. I don't know how good any of this actually is. The build just feels a little underwhelming. Infusions just feel like kind of undercooked. Maybe we'll get more. I feel like it should just be like something that just like adds elemental damage or some sort of, you know, elemental ailment scaling to your game and or to your spells in general, because right now it feels extremely stringent. It's less like, oh, like something I can explore with builds, because the combos are already like there for you. They're solved. There's really only like 1 or 2 like ways to set it up and then ways to spend it right now. So I'm glad I figured it out for myself, at least to a certain degree here. Something that you know can get you into maps, sure. I'm not sure how. I mean, I guess I'll just link the PoE Ninja link. You can just look up Big Orbis Toy on PoE Ninja 2, PoE 2 Ninja, whatever the hell it's called. And let me know if you've made infusions work for you somehow. I know, you know, a lot of people in YouTube comment sections are like talking about like their own, like some people like, these infusions are dog shit, they're not worth it. Oh, these infusions are great, this is like blasting me through the campaign with these setups. So it's like, honestly, like probably a lot of different, like, but I mean, it could very well be a skill issue, you know, if you're not paying attention to where these are, and you're not picking them up. I mean, your damage will suffer as a result, especially if you're like really investing heavily in the tree. I really don't think like investing any more than like this little, like pretty consistently increased spell damage if you've consumed the infusion recently, if that sort of stuff. I'm just really not sure about all the rest of the stuff. Not to say nothing of like stuff like Archon or whatever. There's just not a lot of spellcaster support, unfortunately, right now. Like I was saying before, if you go to your spells, your elemental spells, it's not really that much. Like, you know, compare it to like weapon skills, right? Like, obviously, one weapon is one thing. Yeah, you can weapon swap out to something else. This stuff isn't really there. I'm hoping maybe elemental spellcasters get a little bit more support or just stuff to mess around with and combo with once the Druid comes out. But we don't live in that PoE 2 yet. So here we are. Level 77 Blood Mage. I don't know if we're really going to do much more PoE 2 content for this patch, because it is feeling just like I was having so much fun with the campaign, playing with my friends and stuff. We were just blasting through, and now we're back into the same old end game that like people aren't too jazzed about. I'm kind of a fan of it, but like not to the point. Like I've played plenty of PoE and plenty of just ARPGs in general, past couple months. So little bit cooked. But let me know what you're doing, and let me know if you have any ideas of what to maybe take this over the top or just make Firestorm more consistent. um, and yeah, thank you for watching the video and have a good one.